What up, dogs? This is Underdog here, and here's another video. So I thought I'd start a little series talking about like what sorts of weapons and robots I'm going to be excited to be using in the near or distant future, depending. So I think I thought I'd better start with my favorite, which is obviously the Punisher, and the whole Punisher series for that matter. So they're cheap to buy, cheap to upgrade, and already have plenty of them myself. I think, to me, I think they're one of the most versatile weapons, even if they're not really meta anymore. I think that they're still one of the most versatile weapons because they can be used, pretty effectively on most robots. I believe. Unfortunately, the 10-second reload kind of does put a damper on the effectiveness, and especially considering the fact that they're sustained damage. That they are a sustained damage weapon. So the DPS isn't very high, but at least you have a long clip. Now the 10-second damper, like it's had 10. I'm pretty sure it's had 10 seconds reload forever, but at the same time, it in nowadays in current meta, that 10-second reload is just an absolute dreadful thing, because it can get you killed. 10 seconds is a long time. 10 seconds can get you killed multiple times over. So I don't have the capability to be able to show off different footage right now, but that would be fun. Like obviously I'll just get some footage in the future of other builds, but for right now I think that all I can do is go ahead and cycle through these what's in the store. So obviously I'm already running Punishers and then Punisher T on the Cossack. The Gepard I think would be pretty fun to run too, because it's going to be just a little bit more powerful than the Destrier, and it's a lot faster too, so it can definitely be used as a beacon capper and whatnot. And if you definitely put some damage skills on there, I think it could be really fun to build, even if it won't really be very OP and it won't be able to compete with the high meta, but to me it's still going to be really fun because it's a classic build. Can't really get much better than that. Now the Patton, that's also a very classic build to run all Punishers on a Patton. Now, unfortunately, the thing is kind of slow because it was meant to be a damage dealer back in the day. That's what it was meant to be, is a damage dealer. It wasn't really equipped to do much else. But I think it's going to be pretty fun to run that Punishers on that too. Now, the Bolt, I'm not really sure on. It seems like it could be a good build because it is a dash bot. So you think it might have probably about the same capabilities as the Gepard, but at the same time, it's also, like I said, it is a dash bot. So like you could probably do a little bit of damage and then come out. But you also gotta remember it's a sustained weapon damage, so it's not like burst. If you wanted to be able to do the most effective weapons on the Bolt, I think they would be the burst weapons, basically. Whereas with Bolt, you probably wouldn't. It wouldn't feel very comfortable or agile in order to try to do sustained damage while also dashing. I mean, obviously, if you're very good at the game, you can do that, but it is a huge learning curve on knowing how to do that. Now the Gareth, also another classic build. It even comes pre-built on when you buy it. It would seem pretty fun, especially considering the fact that kinetic weapons are kind of what one of the shielded bots are weak to, because kinetic weapons always deal twice as much damage to physical shields as any other weapon is going to do. But also this is going to be another beacon capper, as well as the Bolt. The Bolt would also obviously be a beacon capper, but the Gareth, to me, I definitely am gonna be looking forward to running it at some point, but I'm not sure if the Punishers themselves would be the most exciting to run, unless I'm trying to do like TDM, maybe just like in something where I'm actually trying to pop out and do damage rather than just like capping beacons. The Jesse, to me, I think the Jesse would actually be pretty effective. They're like one of the most effective light bots to run with the Punishers, only because you can actually counteract the 10-second reload by having another clip to load in. So you would fire empty a clip of of one and then immediately switch to the next, which would be pretty effective to me, to be honest. Now it is it is fast enough to definitely be a beacon capper, and and then with the Punishers you can also, and with the Jessies and the Gunslingers in general, you can kind of like switch around. Like um, you can have Punishers and then maybe switch to shotguns or something. That would be very fun to me. I think. The Vityas can definitely run Punishers, but because of the current meta of the game, the Vityas is definitely not anywhere near being powerful enough to be able to handle like the current meta and whatnot. Like I know that it sounds to me, in my mind's eye, it definitely sounds pretty fun to be running like Punishers and even the Thunder or Avenger and try to in order to maximize damage output for a Punisher build on the Vityas. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to be able to perform that well. Although it probably will have a little bit of a fun factor to me. Now, um, I'm kind of just going over the robots that have light weapon hardpoints right now because otherwise I would just be talking about each and every robot on the roster right now, and I feel like that would just take up a lot of time. And I'd rather separate this into like light weapons, and then sometime later I'll do medium weapons, and then after that heavy and whatnot. Now the Stalker I think should pretty fun because it has obviously stealth, so you'll actually have an advantage in being able to get a little bit more sustained damage as opposed to just walking in blindly and getting shot to Kingdom Come. The Galahad is pretty much the same thing as the Gareth. I would say it seems pretty like it could be pretty fun, but maybe not so. Now it's a lot slower, so you definitely would want to focus more on damage than trying to cap beacons, and whatnot. It should be pretty fun in general, but I wouldn't say it's like the most fun build that I'm looking forward to running Punishers on. Um, of course, I'll mark the ones that I definitely want to. Now, Natasha, I feel like Natasha, like even though it even like maxed out, it may not necessarily be the best. I feel like it would definitely be very fun to run like two Punishers and then two Avengers on. That'd be very. I think that would be really fun, especially if you put like a death mark on it. You would be able to get quite a bit of damage output maybe from that. But I don't know if it can necessarily hold up to the current meta. Now, the Rhino, running all Punishers on a Rhino is absolutely classic from the really early days of the game. Probably one of the most classic runs you can build, other than maybe like an RDB or a DB. Like running Orkins and stuff. It's definitely should be still pretty fun. Maybe I'm not sure, considering the fact that it seems like every match you're dropping in has like Mars, and that every other bot has an Aegis shield, so it's kind of have to take those down first. But maybe if you got a maxed out Punisher build, it kind of will eat through that those Aegis a little bit more than just a little bit of fire. Now the Leo, obviously, you could run three Punishers and an Avenger on that, and that also should be pretty fun. Um, I can imagine that could definitely bump up your rank a little bit, but I'm not sure that it would um, really compete with Measure. If I had to estimate, I'd probably say that probably wouldn't perform much higher than like Diamond League. Now Hover is an interesting build. Unfortunately, because of the new meta, Hover is not a viable. I would not say Hover is a viable bot because I've always been able to pretty much take out hovers with my just with my little Destriers, and I think that's kind of says a lot about how weak the robot really is. Because like back in the early days of war robots, even I don't think that would have been a good idea. Just, basically the entire premise behind that bot is to just launch into midair to try to get some stuff, but the thing is that's a double-edged sword because you're not really escaping it much if everybody on the enemy team can see exactly where you are and just shoot you out of the sky. Now, the Alkin pretty much functioned. I would pretty much say the same exact thing about it. Like other than being able to fly and go fairly fast, and you get a extra built-in weapon, which is basically a spark at this point. Other than being able to do that, it's not the effective bot. A lot of people make fun of this bot. It's not very effective at all. But to me, I think it would still be pretty fun to go ahead and run Punishers on it. If you're gonna run anything, I think if you're gonna run anything on this bot, Punishers would be the most fun and probably the most cost effective because they are, like I said, they are cheap to upgrade. So like if you're going to experiment with a robot like this that's really isn't very effective at all, it'd probably be I guess good idea to go ahead and do it with weapons that aren't very cheap, expensive, and it wouldn't be that much of a waste of resources. Now, the Griffin. I love the Griffin. The Griffin is one of the oldest bots in the game. Obviously, I don't think it was like I don't remember if it was in the original game because I've only been playing it in 2016, so I'm not sure exactly what was in the original 2014 game. But I do know for a fact that gunship is what they used to call all Punishers on a Griffin, and I've run it a couple times myself, and it's pretty fun. Obviously, when it's maxed out, it will do a heck of a lot more damage than it does right now. But yeah, gunship is definitely one of the most classic runs you can do on the Griffin, other than like a death button or an RDB. Next, what's next? Now Strider. I could see this basically. This is the same reasoning as for the bolt. I could see it doing a lot. See it doing a lot of damage with max out Punishers and an Avenger, but at the same time, it's a Strider, and you have to be able to know how to dash and fire. You know how to dash and be able to keep your aiming reticle at the same time on your enemy at the same time. But I feel like it still would be very fun to run. Even the basic model that you get when you buy it, there's the Thunder and the Panadas. Even that maxed out would be fairly fun, even though it probably wouldn't really be able to compete in the meta nowadays. And now Raven, pretty much, basically, it's the same thing as a gunship. It would be the same thing as a gunship Griffin, except you just have an extra jump. So I feel like you could probably run the heck out of that, and I know that I would definitely personally love to run that, and because Lottie Rose always used to run her Ravens, and if she can do it with an RDB and a death button and have so much fun doing that for like 5 years or 3, how many ever years she used the Griffins for, the Ravens for, then should be pretty fun running Punishers. The Raker, I am not very, very sure about. The Raker is one of the most hit or miss robots I've ever seen in the game, because I know for a fact you definitely can make a heck of a killer out of a Raker, but to me it's just always been like, because it doesn't boost the most firepower, and because it is a spider bot, it's a little hard to maneuver sometimes, that you may not be able to get in, and like if you wanted to make a sniper bot out of it, for instance, you definitely can't. It's very hard to get in and out, snipe, and then get behind cover. But at the same time, Punishers, if you're going to make this maybe a little bit of a tanky damage dealer, then I definitely say Punishers could possibly be one of the best weapons to do that with, or at least the most fun, except for when you have to deal with the reload. That would be the only thing that would definitely kick it. Other than just the fact that you have to be able to get in good range, and it's probably hard to corner shoot with it. For the most part, you wouldn't be doing much damage, but with just one light weapon, you're corner shooting with it. The Hellburner is also one I'm not entirely sure of, because you only have, like I said, you only have one heavy and you only have one light. And because you are running around trying to explode most of the time, but you want to get that sustained damage in. So unless you make this like heal a lot and make it a little bit tankier, I would suggest maybe not running Punishers on it. Although eventually I will, probably, just because Punishers are so fun. Now Pursuer, obviously, epic. If Pursuer would be epic with Punishers, or to me, I'm not sure if it's capable to compete in today's meta anymore. It is only a tier 3 robot, and most robots that come out nowadays are going to be tier 4. Unfortunately, they haven't made They haven't made a weaker robot in a long time. But the Punishers on the Pursuer seems like a really good idea to me, just because you would be able to. I don't remember how long is the cooldown for the is the ability active for. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, let me see. Active 10 seconds. That's absolutely perfect. That means that you could literally get in stealth, unless someone has quantum radar or something. You could literally come in with stealth, unload your entire Punisher clip, and then dip out and to reload again. Which to me seems like a perfect setup, to like one of the most perfect things to run a Punishers on. Now the Mercury, even though it has the same exact amount of firepower as the Raker, to me it'd be better to run, way better to run Punishers on a Mercury, simply because you get that you can probably lay down some suppressed some sorry, you can definitely lay down some sustained damage, and then you can launch obviously, and then land on them with that hard hitting boom, but explosion, whatever you want to say. That to me that seems like it would work really well, but maybe not necessarily perform all that well in today's meta. What's next? Now, Mender is another one that would really work well with Punishers, simply because you're running around healing everybody, and if you're running around healing everybody, you probably want to have a weapon that's easily also can easily help out your team. So laying down support fire from a weapon like Punishers would definitely work really well for the Mender, depending on how it's working. So I would, like, if I was running a Mender and basically I had Punishers on it, I would be running around, not necessarily through the battlefield, but I would definitely be trying to run around if anybody else is laying down support fire. I'd probably be healing them up, so that would work really well to me. Now the Loki, I'm not entirely sure that the Loki would be great at all with Punishers. In theory, you would think it would be, but because most people spend a lot of their time in their Lokis in stealth, you're probably going to want a burst weapon, and Punishers are definitely not a burst weapon. So basically, you'd probably get, unless you had like a lot of defense somehow, you probably would end up getting a lot of good use out of Punishers on a Loki. Now the Tyr, on the other hand, the Tyr, which is also part of the Ragnarok pack, like the Loki, I could definitely see putting Punishers. They even come pre-installed on the Tyr. Probably for a good reason, because the Tyr to me is definitely obviously a support bot. You can heal your allies with it, and that's not really the reason why I call it a support bot. I call it a support bot basically because it seems like to me you can definitely get a lot of use out of using it as to lay down support fire, which is what the Punishers are for, mostly, other than just like knife fighting, which is one of my favorite things to do, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like the Tyr, when you max that out and try to make it a little bit more tanky, you definitely get some pretty good gameplay out of that, probably. Now the next thing I think would be the Siren. Yeah, because it does have light slot. The Siren. Now I feel like the Siren might be pretty good to run a Punisher and then a couple of Avengers on, only because I'm kind of biased towards Punishers anyway. But at the same time, if you're going up in their Siren's ability, then I feel like you could probably get a lot of use out of Punishers, only because they're the most basic version of what everyone already used to use them on them when I was back in the game a long time ago, which would be the Cremolas and the aimbot bullets. So people would use those all the time, and they would just like cut through everybody on the battlefield, which didn't make playing a whole lot fun. But the Punishers, I think, would be fairly balanced. So like trying to pull a tactic like that would be way more, balance friendly than maybe using the Cremolas and whatnot, or whatever the big ones are called. I forgot. Okay, now what's next? Now in the Vader, let me go ahead and get a drink of water here. I didn't. That's better. Now the Invader, I can say for a fact, well, kind of say for a fact that Punishers on the Invader used to be kind of meta anyway, especially considering the fact that this is a tier 4 bot. So this definitely used to be part of the meta when it first came out. The Punisher, I feel like running Punishers on that would be really great. And then now with the what's the Ultimate Invader coming out, that's gonna have three it's gonna have three medium slots on it. That should be like exceptionally better. But yeah, Punishers on Invader would make me really really happy. I would love to run that build like that. Blitz maybe for the same reason, only because if you make it tankier, you could definitely get a lot more use out of those that sustained damage from the Punishers. But better be careful when that 10-second reload comes around. Now the Hades could be a decent build with Punishers on it, only because I think the ability distance is also 500 meters. So yeah, the built-in weapon range is also 500 meters. So I feel like that would be a good pairing with it, only because you could make sure that you don't have to say at 500 meters. I would probably suggest around 400, 450 if you were trying to be a support bot with that. So that would probably work really nice. Now, the Scorpion running Punishers, I'm not too sure about because the entire point of the Scorpion is to be an ambush bot. So if you're going to be an ambush bot, you probably need burst weapons. So I can't be entirely sure that a Scorpion with Punishers would work all that well. Although it does seem like aesthetically, yes. Aesthetically, yes, Scorpions would be very fun to run with Punishers. Now, here comes one of the robots I've wanted to run Punishers on for a long time. And I don't think I actually have any Ares yet, but Ares would be very fun to run Punishers on, only because to me that'd be like one of the best. Like just look how nice they look on the Ares. It's almost like they were designed for it, to be honest. But yeah, that would be very fun because the ability is also 500 meters. So if you were to get that, and then max it out, put a pilot on it. There's a couple of different pilots. There's several different pilots for the Ares, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I know there's definitely at least a couple. But the Ares pilot would be absolutely so fun to run, even if you although it is kind of a glass cannon, to be honest. So you would probably want to make it a little bit more tanky. That way you could definitely get more use out of that sustained damage. I am saying sustained damage quite a bit, but that's the point of the Punishers anyway. So now the Hawk I think could be really really fun. The point of the Hawk when it first came out was to be a Titan killer, so that's what the point of the built-in weapon was. I think if you were to put some Punishers and Avengers on there, it could be pretty fun. I would absolutely love to run one of those with all Punishers and just to eat the crap out of a little Minos or an Outbeing or something. That'd be really really fun. The Phantom, I'm not really entirely sure about. I feel like because it's definitely another one of those ambush bots that you may not necessarily want to run Punishers on it because it's not a burst weapon. But at the same time, maybe if you were to try to do some sort of maneuver where you like lay down, you unload your entire clip into the enemy, and then teleport back behind cover as soon as you're out of ammo, that could probably work maybe. The shell, I think the shell could probably work maybe just because it's just a tanky. It's a really tanky um bot, and if you want to get the best use out of your Punishers, that's what you want is a tanky bot. I think I have a shell already, but I'm not gonna be using it for a long time. The Kefri for some reason definitely very 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 tanky bot. I already have a couple of these just because somehow random win them randomly. But to me, yeah, Kepri would be really, really fun to run Punishers on just because it's really, really tanky. So you can really, really use those Punishers. Oh, I just realized I haven't really been saying what kind of use do we get out of these robots, like beacon runners or whatnot. But it should be fairly easy to understand. I think you could probably, I don't know, so that you could say be a beacon runner, but I could definitely see you defending beacons with Kefri and just trying to help your team out as much as possible. Um, Revenant, same thing. Teleporter bot, maybe not this best thing to use with the Punishers, but it could be done. Skyros, I don't see you doing that. Um, Same reason basically, just because it's not the most powerful bot. I know Revenant's tanky, so you can maybe get away with it possibly, but Skyros not a very tanky bot. So running a sustained weapon like Punishers is probably not the best use of your time or resources maybe. Now Angler, I'm not too sure about it. It's definitely one of the newer bots. I think it's annoying, really a really annoying robot. But running Punishers on it, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe only because if you're using your Angler to the best of its ability, quote unquote, you're going to be using your ability left and right, so you probably wouldn't get a whole lot of use out of a weapon that takes a long time to reload. Now the Nether I could definitely see you Punisher on, just because to me it seemed, you had that resistance or whatever it is that keeps it from dying so much. Um, the force field, yeah, got 90,000 durability on a force field at level 1. You can't even buy these guys yet, but I would definitely like to get at least one, just because I mean aesthetically, yes, Punishers look great on it. And it's one of the only robots in the game that actually has a head on it. Um, but yeah, I could definitely see that being very fun. It is a dash bot, mostly because of the way it's built. I think, and how it would handle, I would assume. That seems like it'd be a better use using Punishers than maybe some of the other dash spots would be. I didn't mean to click on the Ibugi, just meant to scroll through it. Now the Ibugi, I'm not really sure. I feel like that's definitely another one of those, like, anything that has teleporting as its ability seems to be like it wouldn't be the best use of Punishers, only because you need burst weapons. So like you probably wouldn't want to use Punishers on something like that. And then I believe that brings us to the end of the video, because I just wanted to talk about the ones with the light weapon hardpoints. So yeah, overall I think the Punishers definitely very balanced. They're one of the most balanced weapons in the game, even though they don't really perform well in the meta anymore. But they're one of my favorite weapons. I just think that, this is a great first entry in this series. So hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm Underdog. Ow!